Very important part, especially moving on. It has always been important, but now it's becoming extremely important. Make customers feel like VIPs. And the way that you do that is having mystery and rituals.
Welcome to Biz Help for You, the show that saves you the expensive learning curve by providing advice from industry experts in every facet of the entrepreneurial journey. Too many small businesses collapse. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 20% fail within their first year, and less than 35% make it to their 10th anniversary. The goal of this podcast is to change that statistic. So if you're interested in learning more to be a successful entrepreneur, tune in today.
Let me tell you a little bit about my guest today. Shahar Boyayan is a leading expert in the intersection of consumer behavior and artificial intelligence. She provides invaluable insights into emerging technologies and their impact on commerce, helping businesses understand and adapt to changing consumer trends. Shahar is the author of the influential report, AI-Driven Consumer Trends and Business Applications, Navigating the Near Future of Commerce and the 8 Laws of Irresistibility, which serves as a vital resource for leveraging AI in consumer behavior. She's known for her engaging speaking style that makes complex concepts accessible and actionable, empowering businesses to shape the future of commerce. You can learn how to strategically leverage AI to understand and influence consumer behavior, gaining a competitive edge in an evolving digital marketplace. So Shahar, welcome to the show.
So glad to be here.
I'm looking forward to this. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in hearing kind of this intersection of AI and commerce. But before I get into questions specifically on the topic, I'd love for you just to share your story of how you learned to effectively use AI to analyze behavior and trends.
I don't know if I effectively use AI
Okay.
because, like everybody else, I'm learning, right?
Mhm.
But I always had a passion for consumer behavior. I've been advising businesses for over, I would say, 35 years, 20 years in the US. And my passion was always this, the consumer, because it is very easy for the entrepreneur to be consumed by all the things that they need to do and how do they scale and all the day-to-day things, that they forget that without the consumer, there is no business, right? The people need to buy from them and they need to look extremely attractive to the consumer. So I always did that. Now with AI, even though AI is not new, we the people are getting used to it right now. We are experimenting that with devices in our rooms, in our house, and we are starting to get used on how it works, many times unconsciously. I have many people that say, I hate AI, I don't want to do anything with this, and blah, 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 don't use it. And then I ask, but do you watch Netflix? And there you go. You are using, many times you're not conscious that you're using. So when this came about, well, it so happens, Candy, that we are experiencing one of the biggest changes in behavior in our lives, with the extra fact that only this time we are 5 generations alive at the same time, going through these changes at the same time, and working as well, or having businesses, right? So it's a major change, and that is why it attracts me so much, because it's going to impact us one way or another.
Yeah, it definitely can feel overwhelming too as we're learning about it and things are changing all of the time and there's just so much to know about it, and so obviously you've written this report and you're talking about these consumer trends and applications, but in the bio, I also said that you had 8 laws of irresistibility. I would love for you to explain maybe what the 8 are, just say what they are first, and then maybe pick 1 or 2 of them to give a little bit more information on a deep dive to help us understand like how we can use this information to attract and retain our consumers.
The important part to understand is that we put a business out there and we are usually really in love with that. But then comes the part that we need to have visibility and attract people to us. And it's not as simple as opening the door and they will come. They will not come, especially today, right? So then we go into the marketing part that most people hate. They hate to do it. They hate to think about it. They hate the money that they have spent on that. Well, the problem is if you don't start in the right place with the right message, everything is going to be harder and cost a lot more. So you have a lot of businesses that just throw money to see which ad is going to pick up. But if they're not positioned well, that's not going to happen. Well, the laws of irresistibility is not for you just to be visible, but to be really attractive to people. And you do this really ideally before you start thinking about branding and colors and logo and all those things. Not the case for everybody, because many of us, we realize we might not have the right approach. We are way into the business, right? So basic laws of irresistibility, for example, you finding your own voice, right? It's very important today more than ever that you show what you are about, what are your beliefs, what are your principles, and you express yourself the way you are. Many of us, maybe you and I, Candy, we were trained with TV, right? And so you would expect a certain kind of host on the news with a certain type of makeup, a certain age. Everything was frozen. And many of us, we go into the world of entrepreneurship and doing marketing with the same concept, but that's not what people are looking for. They want to see not only who you are, how you behave on the day-to-day, but what's behind you, in the sense of what happens backstage, what happens when you're not working or you're not in front of a camera. We want raw, we want real, all ages. But the younger you cater to, the more they are like that. I want to see the real you. So if you try to polish, to super edit, to use a lot of stuff, and AI can do all these things for you, but you have to ask how much is too much and how much is not really showing what I want them to know and see. Did I answer your question?
So, I mean, what I was hoping to know is, and we don't have to go into all that much detail because maybe we don't have the time to go over it, but I wanted to just kind of know those laws of irresistibility, because so many of us are struggling to know like what we should be sharing and how we should be sharing it. And so if you even wanted to just state like what those were, and then we would have a little bit more of an idea of what you were talking about.
Right. So the first one is stand out where others don't. And that's the crucial question, is where do you stay that you're not just like everybody else? And more important than that, your customers, who they become by working with you. Because if you provide the right experience, doesn't matter if it's product, service, what it is, they will change. So who they become by working with you. So that's the core of this stand out where others don't. But it's the same principle that you heard before about finding the blue ocean. What is the spot where I can position myself in a different way? Give you an example, a very one that is happening right now. We all drink orange juice, right? And you have bought orange juice everywhere. Well, there's a company in Japan that developed a machine that they put the orange on the machine, and instead of taking the juice out, it makes the juice inside the orange, right? And then they put a straw and they give it to you. It becomes a smoothie. Well, they're still selling orange juice, but it has a different presentation, a different experience, has the sustainability of not using cups of any type with the consumer. So has a lot of messages around it as well. And is still a commodity, orange juice. But they can sell the orange juice for $5 instead of $1 that I could buy someplace else. So it's how you think, okay, how can I twist what I do in a way that they will perceive I'm in a unique place? The second one is be reliably amazing. And how do you do that? Simple things, actually. Consistent quality, be very consistent. I was running to arrive on time here today, talking to my daughter about the experience we have with restaurants. So right now I am in Puerto Rico. And sometimes you feel that the whole business is structured in such a way that doesn't consider the consumer in small things, right? From, I don't know, bringing you plastic forks when there is no need, you inside the restaurant, things like that. Or not being consistent. One day the food is good, the other day the food is bad. Well, consistency is the key to success. So that's the one thing you need to look all around your business and see where there are inconsistencies, because they cause frustration to the consumer. So you have to establish the standards that you want for the business, and everybody needs to follow. And in this case is where you actually use technology in your favor, because there are many things that you just don't have the time to be consistent on. Follow up with customers tend to be one. You can use AI to take that out of your plate. We already talked about tell your story with your unique voice, so I'm not going to talk about that again. Very important part, especially moving on. It has always been important, but now it's becoming extremely important. Make customers feel like VIPs. And the way that you do that is having mystery and rituals. Now, if we take this back years ago, Coca-Cola had a formula, right? There was a secret formula and nobody would have the keys to the safe and things like that. That's what we call mystery, because the brain cannot cope with an unanswered question. So every time that my brain cannot answer something, it sticks to that. It freezes until it has an answer. You mentioned change. That's an interesting thing, right? Because we hate change. All of us, we hate change. In marketing, you don't even use that word. But the sooner a business owner understands that the only constant in life and in business is change, the better it will be, because things change. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. So if you are aware of that and you understand that every time is just a process that you will have to figure some things out to move to the next stage, it is a good one. Now, we are living in a very unique moment here in the US, very unique. And what is happening is that all of us have a lot of unanswered questions in our brain. And if you have follow the market in the last few weeks, you've seen that is a total disaster, right? Why? Because of this thing that if I don't have an answer, I'm not going to take action. It takes us back to our reptilian brain. I don't know where the cyber tiger is coming from. It's going to attack me. So I'm going to be quiet until I figure where to go. This is what's happening right now. And it's normal when we have instability or change in our life, right? What else? So there are many, many ways for you to create mystery, rituals, and engagement with an audience. The simple things would be create inner circles, VIP customers. Restaurants can do this so super well. This kind of secret menu. I mean, McDonald's has it, KFC has it, In-N-Out has it. You see that in food a lot, but we all should have it. The secret things, the secret lingo that only your consumers know how to approach. Those are phenomenal for people to stick with you. And then getting better at innovating. That's another thing that, especially the small business owner, they tend to think, okay, I see this AI, there's something called GPT. I know. Let's see where it goes. And then I'll move with my business towards it or run away from it. The problem here, Candy, is that this time we don't have that option. AI will stay, and AI will change the dynamic of businesses, consumers, behavior, everything. So we either start becoming aware of what's out there, experimenting with some tools. It really doesn't matter much. There's a new tool every single day coming out, and that can be overwhelming. Choose one and try it a little bit. See how could that be valuable for your business or not? But celebrate the fact that you are going to have to innovate if you want to stay in business, because the changes are massive. For you to have an idea, about a year or so ago, I had in my other company about 16 people. Today, I run the same company with 3. Everything else is AI. So decision makers need to stay. you have certain personalities and functions that they need to stay with you. But all the boring stuff, every single thing that can be automated, you should put AI there. Because what's going to happen is not a matter of people losing jobs, is becoming more relevant to the job that you have. And allowing the entrepreneur to actually scale, because you don't open a business to be the same for years and years. You want to grow, right? It's not a hobby, it's a business. And many times you don't have the time to do that, or you don't have the time to do it the correct way. Well, that's when AI can come and, fix most of that issues.
So, I mean, AI is relatively new, but it seems to be ever changing already. So much happens so fast. So, do you have an idea maybe of what you think is going to happen in the future with this and over the next couple years, decade? What do you think is going to happen, and how, as small business owners, do we adapt and prepare for those changes?
Well, there are a few things that we need to be aware. It's not about which tools, and the changes in the next 2 years will be massive. And that's another reason why we cannot wait as businesses. Whatever we can experiment on, we should, because they are going to be massive. Now, it's difficult to answer your question because AI is changing so fast. I use 3 AIs to do business, basically. One is GPT, and it's good for some stuff, not so much for others. Sometimes it gets bad and then goes back with an amazing thing, right? Claude, I use that a lot as well, even to brainstorm. But now I have a new best friend, and it's Manus. And I don't even know if I'm pronouncing the name correct, but it's just unbelievable what it does, because you tell kind of what you want without having structured prompts or anything. And that AI will do all the tasks necessary to fulfill that without any more human input. So for you to have an idea, let's say you are a consultant, or let's say you are an online marketer and you're going to put a program out there. And you're going to have a component where you have classes, another component where you have community, and you have some bonus that you need to give. Maybe a calculator, maybe a PDF, maybe a planner. Well, you tell this guy, I'm going to do this, and this is what I need. And there you go. You have the PowerPoint presentation, the code for the calculators, all the sales page that you need, all the follow-ups, message, and it's free. Everything. And it's unbelievable, the quality, how deep it goes. And when you brainstorm with that, it's unbelievable how it changes and adapts to what you need. Now, this is one tool. And we have a ton out there and many more coming. So an unanswered question would be, what tools should we use? I don't know. There are really hundreds of them. It depends where you need help with, and then go find the best one for you. But it's going to change as you're using it, because that's how fast it's going.
Right. So what are some of the misconceptions that you are hearing entrepreneurs sharing about integrating this AI into their marketing strategies, and how can they avoid those pitfalls?
I think the number one thing is the lack of knowledge on what these tools can do. That's very common. I talk to entrepreneurs every single day that they say, oh, GPT, I have an account, I even pay for that, but never used. And that's like the first step on things, right? So they don't know what it can do for them. The second thing, I think, is a concern about privacy. And that is a very valid question and a very difficult answer around that. You have to establish the ethics, the parameters, and the boundaries of what can and cannot be done concerning your customers. And ethics is a very important thing. AI doesn't have ethics. AI doesn't have empathy. AI has a limited creativity. So all those things are still yours. I think the most important advice I could give is that you are the decision maker, and that is something you cannot give to a machine, right? And that is the danger, because it happens almost without you paying attention. For example, you ask the AI to create a sales page for you, and you look take a look here, looks good, put it out there, doesn't read what's in there.
Right.
My daughter-in-law did that with a resume, and she was called for an interview, and they were going with the interview, and they said, oh, we are so excited that you mastered this language, computer language. My daughter-in-law hardly knows how to use the computer. It was the AI that put out there, and she didn't read. So you need to understand that you are the barrier where the final decision is yours, and you don't give that power away. And you also need to look, read, listen to what the AI is doing. Because with consumers, if you run into a big mistake, a typo, something on a sales page might not be much, but it could have hard consequences. Well, then it's on you. You have to do that. The other thing is you need to exercise every single day your critical thinking. You cannot just accept what is shown to you. There are many examples now of videos out there that they are clearly AI. There's no doubt they are AI. And people still say, oh, what a brilliant mind. What a wonderful kid that can speak 9 languages with 2 years old and things like that. We are doing that already. And we need to stop and think, I need to be able to see what is fake and what is not. Because with the kids, video is one thing, but it can get dangerous, right? So we need to exercise critical thinking. That therefore we need to make the final decision every single time.
Right. Well, and you were talking about, obviously a machine doesn't have emotion or all those things too, and we need to be able to be involved in making sure that everything is in the message that we want to portray too, and not sounding, so like basically non-feeling, I guess is a good way to say it. But you basically are taking psychology and AI and combining them together, right? So how do we as entrepreneurs then use the knowledge like you have and you're sharing even today to make sure that we are including our emotions so people can see it really is still us? Maybe someone has some help creating the content, because they don't feel they write well or whatever that is. But how do we still have us and our feelings involved in the marketing?
I think what's very beautiful about AI is that it is a system that keeps learning. So what you have to do as an entrepreneur is test all the time. So for example, one of the things we offer is a voice employee. So the AI will answer the phone with questions and things like that. Well, the other day we did a test because we were thinking, well, if it doesn't have empathy and it has a hard time with emotions, what if a person would call a funeral home to talk about how to do the final things with a loved one? Well, so we did that. We called the AI and we mimic the situation, and it was very impressive how it showed empathy. It doesn't have it, but the conversation went really, really smooth. Well, but of course, with anything, especially on the first time, there will be glitches. That's when you go and you tell the AI it needs the company the other day. We did a promotion for the end of the year where the last few days of the year were free. Well, I was talking to a friend and he called and it offered now in, I don't know, January or February until the end of the year free. So you need to be on top of it. It's not that you're going to put an AI there to work for you and never talk to it again. It's a learning machine. So it needs to learn. And every time there is something incongruent, you go there and you adjust.
So
tell me if I answered the question, because I like to learn.
Yeah, no, that was good. One thing that I was thinking though, when you're talking about training this machine that's interacting with the customer, how do you effectively do that then? If you want to have someone answering a phone or, the machine answering the phone for you, especially if it's closed hours or something, like how do you have them know all the information that if someone has a question that they can answer and answer effectively? Like, what do you say about that aspect of it?
When we get a client, for example, for a voice employee, the very first thing we're going to ask them is, what are the points of frustrations that you usually have with your consumers? We all have that, because if we don't have, something is not right. There is no perfect business. So where do you cause frustration for you, for your employees, or for the customer? That's a list, right? Then the 10 most asked questions, not because the AI needs to learn the answer to those, it does, but to see what's the subtext with that.
Mm-hmm.
For example, in my consulting years, there was a phase that everybody would come to my office. I need help with social media, right? Because everybody heard that they need to be using that. But once you talk to them and you realize what's going on, their problem is not social media. Their problem is either the message or something else. It's the same thing with any business. If you know what are the 10 questions that they ask every single time, you can start pinpointing the divergence of those questions, what they will. And that's what you feed the AI. So it knows the points of frustrations, and you have to tell how you would deal with those points of frustration, right? And then the other things that you have for those questions. So you have to give something at the beginning, and then you start testing, calling your own AI and seeing how it goes, and you push it. So when we call, we play the tough customer. We don't play the nice customer, right? We are never happy. We don't want to give information, and they need information. So all these things, we keep testing the timing, because with some audiences, they are okay waiting a little bit for an answer to come. With others, they're not. Harvard did a study that 83% of Americans actually prefer a system that will give the answers or the solution right away than to do any small talk. So this is a trend that we have. I, for one, hate to talk on the phone. I am the perfect person that doesn't, if I can, I do everything on my phone, TikTok and everything else, but I hate to be on a phone call. So I'm the kind of person that if I call, I don't want you to ask me about the weather, how my day is going, if I'm celebrating anything. Cut the small talk. So we have to understand who we are talking to. And you may be with a different type of customer, right, that wants to be heard. The older we are getting, and remember, I told you, we are catering to 5 different generations, the more invisible and lonely I feel. There is a reason why some people go to the park to feed the pigeons. It's a social interaction that they don't have in other means. So if I'm catering to that audience, I need to understand that I need to listen more. I need to be more patient sometimes. But the fact that show them they are not invisible all the time is crucial. If you're dealing with baby boomers, we're the poster for that, because we like to be adopting things and using, and like for example, my friends, I have a lot of friends that don't do any AI, but others, they want to try, they want to test. So acknowledge that. Don't come saying we don't understand anything, we don't know how to touch a button or things like that. So you need to understand your audience.
There's so much to know. Like, we are just barely scratching the surface, and we're already coming to the end of the time that we have together. But it's been an interesting conversation just to have the scratching the surface even. But I know we're coming to the end. So I wanted to ask, do you have an offer that you would like to extend to our listeners? And if someone wants more information, how can they contact you?
Sure. I have 2 reports. One is about the laws of irresistibility, and the other is consumer-driven behavior because of AI. Both of them you can find at proptalkie.com, prop like in property, talkie like walkie-talkie, proptalkie.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and you have the free resources there. You can download both of them. That's also an AI agency, meaning that we have AI employees for all the tasks that you hate to do, from phone, websites, in the sense of somebody being there to answer in a nice way, not just cookie cutter responses. So we have all types of stuff that can help you become more attractive to a market.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for being a guest and just talking about this topic and just starting to educate us. Like I said, we barely even got into the topic because there's so much to know about this. But I really appreciate your taking the time to just start the conversation with me.
Awesome. I'm always here to talk about it.
Perfect. And to the listener, if you enjoyed today's topic and you want to hear additional information, you can find access to exclusive content in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in today. Would you please share this episode with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? And if you find our show informative, would you consider being a financial sponsor to help me continue my mission to educate business owners? A link is located in the episode description, and no amount is too small. I'd really appreciate your support. If you are interested in connecting with our guest and receiving the offer they had to share, a link to our resource page is in the show notes. Finally, if you have any bookkeeping or payroll needs, reach out to us at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.